Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today I'm going to show you how to remove power steering fluid from your reservoir tank. Very simple. Let's go ahead and get started.
To complete this, all you're going to need is a siphon pump, some kind of an oil pan or container where you can catch the excessive fluid once we pump it out, and then some power steering fluid. You want to make sure that you get whatever's recommended for your vehicle, but it's always good to have a little bit of that on hand as well in case you pump out too much and you need to top it back off. So these are the only components needed right here. These are fairly inexpensive to get a pump. You can get these less than $10 at Walmart or Harbor Freight or wherever, but they're very cheap. So with these in place, let's go ahead and get started.
Now this method can be used for any situation where you have to get the fluid out of the reservoir container, whether it be too much fluid is in there and you need to get it, the excess removed, or if you're just trying to empty it out because you're in the process of flushing your system. This method would work for any of those.
What we have here is a vehicle, and I know it's happened to me in the past. I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people as well, where you're putting in the fluid, especially when you're dealing with like power steering where it's such a small amount at a time, you accidentally go beyond it. So if we open this up here, hopefully you can see that, but you can see it's way beyond the full. So that's obviously not acceptable. You do not want to have more than required in the power steering system, so we need to get that out. So let's go ahead and hook up the siphon pump and all the components so we can start pulling that out and get it down to the proper level.
Now what you want to remember when you're using one of these siphon pumps, your top hose right here, that line always goes into the reservoir tank. That's where you're pulling from the source. The lower one goes down into your drain pan, so that way it has a downward momentum where you're pumping it into. And you always want to remember that the drain pan must always be located below the source. So in this case, you want it to be below the reservoir tank, so that way it also keeps that downward momentum going to keep it pumping properly. With all that in mind, let's go ahead and get everything set up so we can start draining it.
Go ahead and remove the cap. Wipe that off. And then taking the top hose, we're going to go ahead and feed that down in. Get it all the way down in there. Good. Now bringing our bottom hose, the drain part, we're going to go ahead and put this into our oil pan or drain pan, whatever you have. Get that set up in there like that. So that way it's all going to funnel right into here.
With everything in place, let's go ahead and start pumping. And here it comes.
And to be honest, looking at the color of this power steering fluid that came out of here, I think I'm just going to go ahead and do a complete flush anyway. But you could use the same process with using this pump. You could pump it out. The only difference is that you would then start the vehicle, turn it left to right, make sure you drain it all properly. But this pump is a huge help if you're trying to also drain all of your power steering fluid to do a flush.
And as you check your levels, you want to make sure that you top it off accordingly until you get it to the full line. You don't want to go above it. Make sure it's nice and topped off.
As we get ready to conclude this video, I just wanted to show you real quick. That's the power steering fluid that we siphoned out. And this right here is new power steering fluid. You can see the difference here. Obviously, this system needs to be flushed out. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be covering that in this video, but I know a lot of people, including myself, never really used to flush the system, but it is so important to do that. You can see right here how it gets. It's very dark, almost looks like a syrupy, and it should be like this. So it doesn't hurt occasionally to just siphon a little bit out, get a sample, see how it looks. And then at that point you can determine whether or not you want to flush the system out and get that out of there, because you can clearly see the huge difference here.
All right, well that pretty much wraps up this video on how to remove the power steering fluid from your reservoir tank. I hope this video helped you out. Please send me any questions, any comments. I would love to hear from you. As always, I appreciate all the support. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, as I'm always loading new content each week, and I'll see you next time.